Now, before we discuss all the crazy content that happened at the end of this week's episode of Steins Gate Zero, first I do have to mention this scene that apparently, as we can see, was changed in the anime, which seems to be this fan favorite line, which I've been hearing about all season, and obviously we can see what we got in the anime is different from this scene. Now, anime originals like myself are probably thinking, who cares? But this seems to be a pretty fan-favorite scene that a lot of people were complaining that it got changed, and I do agree the visual novel line is much more funny than what we got with the professor in the anime, but the scene was still funny in my book, so it's not a huge deal for me, but I could understand, this was like a cult-following meme it seemed like, so I can understand if some visual novel players are a little salty that that got changed, but I did have to mention it because I know people are going to discuss it. Now, this episode ends in a pretty damn entertaining way. I know everyone in the anime community seems to hate cliffhangers. I adore them. It makes me excited to watch the next episode, so I know this is going to rub people the wrong way. Probably the same way people who watched the original Steins Gate week by week probably hated watching that because there are so many cliffhangers. I love them personally. But this episode was actually kind of interesting because you knew it was going to get bad. I actually didn't expect a cliffhanger with this week. I expected this episode was going to appear very cheerful for the entire episode. Yes, there was definitely foreshadowing for eeriness later on, but I figured that this episode was going to serve as the breathing episode to try to convince the viewers things was going to be a bit better than we were thinking, and then next week would come around, kill off a character, or just do something messed up to shatter some mentalities, things like that. But I like how this episode functioned. This episode, as a week-by-week episode, if it wasn't for that cliffhanger, I could see a lot of people saying it was a pointless episode or they would say it was filler. But these episodes are kind of important for series such as Steins Gate because it's not supposed to just be adrenaline rush the entire way through. You have to have those episodes where it convinces the viewer and tries to put their focus on things that are very small and not that important, so then they can pull the punches and catch you off guard, which I think they actually did with episode 6. Because even though we know the outcome of Steins Gate Zero, more or less, we know where Okabe and the gang is going to end up. We know that this Okabe is going to send the D-mail to the Okabe in the original Steins Gate in the Alpha World line, convince him to grab his lightsaber, fake Kurisu's death, and then reach the Steins Gate World line. We know that's going to happen. We know Mayuri's going to be there because she has a daughter in the future. She literally adopts Kaguri, so we know ultimately the outcome that they're going to get, but how we get there we don't know, so it has the ability to pull the punches that we're not expecting. And I feel like I should have expected the original Steins Gate death where constantly Mayuri's watch stopped and then she got killed to pop back up, but I wasn't. I was expecting people like Shining Finger were going to betray them. I mean, she's presented in such an eerie fashion in this episode. A lot of characters are. The professors, when they're leaving, the female professor, she obviously notices Kaguri, and we know those two are going to betray Okabe and the gang. There was like just so many moments where just shady characters were in alleyways or things like that, and you knew eventually one of them was going to pull a punch, but I wasn't expecting the original death mechanic to play back, because we did escape that, or at least it appeared we escaped from that, but I don't think it's going to play out exactly the same. I mean, please no spoilers, but I don't think Mayuri's going to get shot there, because the thing with it is she could die, and then years down the line or months down the line, they have the time machine to reverse it. But I expect that they're just there because Kaguri's there. They're not there to kill Mayuri, they're there to take Kaguri, and as long as they can take her successfully, I don't think anyone's going to get killed there, but obviously someone could die there. Steins Gate does kill characters, then they reverse the death, and then they kill them again. But it'll be interesting to see how they handle that, but it was unexpected because it wasn't until you hear the, oh, my watch just stopped, I just wound it. I'm just like, are you kidding me? You actually gonna pull the punch? Because we hadn't seen that until episode 6. 6 weeks go by and we're kind of believing like, okay, they're not gonna do the original death mechanic, they're gonna do something else. And I like that because it was unexpected, even though it was foreshadowing so much bad shit was going to happen either at the end of the episode or next week or a few weeks down the line. I wasn't expecting the original mechanic, and that was unexpected because even though we as a viewer, we know where things are going, we know where things are heading, we know World War III is on the horizon, we know all these bad things, but I like how the big bad thing that happened at the end of this episode was something that was so obvious, yet I personally didn't see coming, and it makes it so damn entertaining. This episode was a very cheerful episode, and even though this episode just by itself, if you remove the batshit insane stuff that happened at the end, it was just a very entertaining kind of simple episode that serves the purpose of setting the viewer's mind in a state of, yeah, you know things are gonna get bad, but things are okay right now, so we can just have fun, which it was, but then it pulls the punch in such an unexpected way. I absolutely adore it. I thought the way they directed that final scene where we're zooming in on the mask there, the gun, everything, just the music, the sound direction. The sound direction's always been on point for Steins Gate, but it really was highlighted to the extreme at the end of this episode. It was absolutely breathtaking. This episode, it's just interesting how Steins Gate Zero is pulling these punches It's not holding back. I did find a lot of the interactions, the more silly banter, not that entertaining, a little too tropey for me at times. Like, I don't really like the female professor's persona. I understand she's got more than just that persona we're going to see later down the line. She just doesn't do it for me as a character. The male professor definitely does. I find him to be far more entertaining. But this episode was, as a whole, very entertaining just because all through it watching this, I'm like, I know things are getting bad, and I can see little foreshadowing moments being placed all throughout this episode, but where is it going to get bad? And I don't know how it's going to get bad or when it's going to get bad, and it was just exciting to see how they executed it, and I'm glad they did end in such an amazing cliffhanger. I know everyone's going to hate it, but I love it. And I have to say, that moment between our girl, Mayuri, and then we have Kaguri, and she's just so sad that this girl has amnesia, and she's saying, like, how sad it must be when you have basically, you know, you forgot all your loved ones, and it's just mirroring Okabe because he's currently in a world line where no one knew Kurisu, even though they had all these memories, and he's the only one who gets to remember her. And it was just such a painful moment, but also sweet because she's just trying to be nice to this girl who doesn't have her memories. But it was so painful to look at Okabe, and he's like, guys, you don't even remember, like, our best friend here, like, what's going on? I just loved that moment. It was so great. And then also Okabe kind of like understanding that he can't replace Kurisu with her, this AI, but at the same time, I don't think he's going to abandon this AI, because the AI is her own thing. It's not the original Kurisu, but it can be her own person. At least that's how I feel, and it'll be interesting to see how the AI plays a factor going forward, or if maybe the AI got erased, like what's going on here. We don't know exactly what these mass bastards are going to do to everyone, but it is clear that everything is going to shit, and I always like it when that happens with Steins Gate because it makes it damn entertaining. But let me know what you're feeling down in the comment section below. What did you think of the episode, the twists and turns, the revelations? Let me know what you're feeling down in that comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, and if you're new, also be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.